Well, welcome to another Acoustic Alternatives, the podcast done from Grove Studios in Ypsilanti. I just gave my guest a tour. She was very impressed. This is a place that if you're a musician, if you're a DJ, and you're looking for a place to practice and get out of your house and out of your garage and into a studio with some isolation, this is a really great place. 24/7 operation, keypad, and if it not for Grove Studios, I would not be doing a podcast. They are the ones who encouraged me to follow this as a path, and I think I'm going to have to keep doing this because this really fills a spot in my heart. And I have to also thank my sponsor, David Palmer, because without David Palmer, I would have stopped 3 podcasts ago. There would be no future podcast. So David Palmer is an associate broker realtor serving the clients in the city of Detroit and the surrounding areas. And we're going to talk more about David. But in the meantime, if you want to write down his website and check it out a little bit later, it is davidpalmerllc.com. Or no, that's not it. Where is the website on my little sheet here? Sorry, David. It is missing from my, it's not missing. I used the same thing last time. David, I'm so sorry. David has been so kind to me, and we are going to make sure that we find this on here. dcpalmer.com. That's it, dcpalmer.com. Should highlight that. My guest is somebody who, I told her right before we started that she reminds me how to smile, and we laugh so much together. I've always looked forward to any visits that we have, whether it's in a studio, which we've had many, or just hanging out at a show or talking. It's Rachael Davis visiting us all the way from Nashville. Hello, Rachael.
Hey, Bommarito.
I'm so glad to see you.
Glad to see you too.
You are really are a joy to me. You are of the people I've interviewed so many over the years, and people ask, "Who is your favorite to interview?" And you always come up in that conversation.
We always have a great time.
We do.
I always love our conversations, and it's just always, I like it.
Me too. Thanks for being a friend and a supporter of what I do. I appreciate you.
Oh, no problem.
So we're going to dig a little deep into your history, but I think before we do that, because we're going to do about 4 songs today, and I don't want to not get the 4 songs in because we can talk and talk and talk and talk, and we don't want to do that. I mean, we do, but I would love to have you start with a song.
Okay.
We can talk about other things other than that. What would you like to start with?
How about I start with the song that I wrote with my husband, Dominic John Davis. The song, my love song, was The Summertime, since we're here in the middle of summer. How about I start with When the Summertime Comes?
Sounds great. Rachael Davis on Acoustic Alternatives.
Okay. I've been waiting for the wind to change. I've been looking out my window pane, hoping to hear the red wings, summertime tune, carry me into June. And it's been raining every day of the week. Tears are rolling down my cheek. Darling, I need your loving like I need the sun. Pretty soon it's gonna come. Oh, when the summertime comes. When the summertime comes and the evening is light enough to see. Oh, slide over, darling. We will ride into the night, and we will live every day easily. You called me up, said you got some good news. Your shift is over and you're ready to cruise. Darling, the weather is perfect. The time is just right. I'm coming over tonight when the summertime comes. When the summertime comes and the evening is light enough to see. Oh, slide over, darling. We will ride into the night, and we will live every day easily. I know tomorrow that the sun's gonna shine. I will be yours, and baby, you will be mine. We'll keep the windows wide open all night long.
That's a great song.
When the summertime comes.
Summertime's here, my friend.
It's here. It's here. That was written like when we lived in Bath, Michigan, just on the north shore of Park Lake, and it was like mid-April, but it was still sleeting outside. And if you're from, Michigan, northern Michigan, the calendar says it's supposed to be springtime.
Not always ready.
Yeah, but it still snows up until Mother's Day. And so that's when that song was written. And it was just like, I know reasonably in my conscious mind that spring will come, but all of us northern Michiganders have that tiny voice in our heads at that time of year that's like, well, actually, maybe this is the year that winter is just going to stay forever. If it's snowing on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And so that song was written at that time. Like, I think it was even like a day that was sleeting.
Oh, my goodness.
And freezing cold, like on the lake.
If my memory serves, and my memory's getting bad, but I think you and Dominic did that in the studio at the radio station once.
I think we did. Yeah, I think we did. That song's probably
wrong.
like 13 years old or something.
Yeah.
12
And it
years old.
finally made it to a record.
Yeah,
it's
finally on the Sweetwater Warblers debut album from last year.
Yeah.
So exciting.
We'll get to that in your history.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I think May covered that in her Mondays with May show.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
I watched that.
Yep.
She's awesome. Anyway, all right. So this is about you, not about everybody else.
I am also about everybody else, though. So,
I know. So was Cadillac home growing up? Is that where you were raised as a child?
Yes, that's where. Well, I was born in Lansing, and then when I was a baby, we lived in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And that's where my mom's from. So we lived there till I was 6 years old.
Oh.
And then we moved to Cadillac when I was 6. And that's where I grew up.
I didn't know there was a Chicago part of your history.
There is a big Chicago part of my history. Yeah.
Did you ever go back there?
Oh, yeah, all the time. My sister still lives there. All my mom's relatives are there. Yeah, that's it. We would go there on holidays and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, I love the story you tell about your first appearance on stage. You tell it better than I could. So
yes.
Let's talk about your this is my introduction to performing story.
Okay. Oh, it's so fun. So both my parents are old time musicians. My mom plays dulcimer. My dad plays guitar, banjo, mandolin, sing. They both sing together. And when I was little, they had an old time duo. And they were performing at the festival that's up in northern Michigan called Bliss Fest. Mm-hmm. And when they would perform, they would bring me on stage and I would just sit off to the side and have a coloring book or something that was occupying me during their performance. And I never really bothered them. And this one year I was 2.5. I was almost 3. I was almost 3 years old. And they were playing at the Bliss Fest. And they were on the main stage, and I was off to the side of the stage, and there was a bunch of the extra microphones that they use for bigger bands, were off to the side, and they started playing this song called the Anti-Gardening Song that I can't remember exactly who wrote it, but I know that we learned it from Sally Rogers, and it's like the gardening song, except instead of inch by inch, row by row, instead of it's sweet about being gardening, it's slug by slug, weed by weed, my garden's got me really teed. And I knew all the words to that. So I like this song. So I just stood up and started to sing in one of the microphones that was off to the side of the stage. And the sound person noticed and clicked on the microphone. And I started singing that. And then when that song was over, he just brought the microphone over next to Bunce and T.I., my mom and dad. And I sang the whole rest of the set with them.
At 2.5.
At 2.5, yeah. And I knew all the songs because I'd heard them so many times. Yeah. And we played music in our house all the time. My dad taught me how to sing harmony when I was 3, mm-hmm. And there's the song at the end of my Antebellum Queens album is a little archived tidbit from a recording my dad made when I was 3 when he was teaching me this song. And so it was always around. And then at that point, my parents, when they would perform, they would invite me to, did you want to? You can if you want. And they would just set up a microphone for me. And if I wanted to, I could, but I never had to. And I always wanted to. I think one time when I was 12, I had a really high fever when the family band was performing. And my mom was like, you don't have to if you don't want to. And I was like, what are you kidding me? Of course I'm going to perform with you guys. And then I realized that I couldn't. And because I was so sick, because I even went to the festival and I was like, I'm just going to sit down here. And I remember being really bummed out that I couldn't perform. At 12, I was really sick. But that was the beginning of it. I was wearing this there's pictures of my very first performance somewhere out there. I've seen them, and I'm wearing this like totally filthy purple leotard. You know, it was like 1983. You know, like I was like wearing this like filthy, dirty leotard, and my hair was in like really messy braids. And
you weren't meant to be on stage then. Not the way you were dressed.
I mean, it depends on your perspective, I guess.
Well, clearly your family is instrumental in you becoming the vocalist you are today.
Yeah.
Was it the band called Lake Effect?
That was the band. Yeah, the family band was called Lake Effect. It was my mom and dad, and then I'm the oldest, and then as each of my siblings were born, we kind of became a band.
I think somebody else is using that name these days, aren't they?
There was another band in the Chicago area that was using it, I think.
I searched for it the other day. I'm like, I wonder if there's anything I can actually watch from Lake Effect.
There is not a big Lake Effect web presence.
Okay, no. I couldn't find it. Like, how do I not know any of this stuff?
It's like a 35-year-old old-time family band.
Pre-internet.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. There's been definitely many conversations about, should we have a website? Should Lake Effect get a website or a Facebook? There is a Lake Effect Facebook page.
So it's still active?
Yeah.
Mom and dad still perform?
Yeah, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, of course.
How come I never see Lake Effect featuring Rachael Davis playing somewhere near me?
It's not. It's definitely like a side hustle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of these days I'll have to see that, because if it was such an important part of who you became, I mean, between that and the song circles, the music Sundays that you did, I mean, it was essentially training you for what you were going to become as an adult, right?
Yeah, it was definitely like cultivating, you know, like I had some, like I was exposed to it. It was recognized early that I had something going on. And then it was just encouraged and nurtured. I was really nurtured as a musician. And it was something I love to do. You know, it's just like, you know, it's like a rebel yell, you know, like when there's sometimes when, you know, like the only thing you can do to get that I could do to get that feeling out is just sing a song. You know, it like comes in out from the deepest inner recesses of whatever my spirit. And it's just sometimes that's the only way to pull it out.
I don't know, and I may be misspeaking because I'm not a musician, I'm not a singer, but it seems to me that pretty much anybody can learn to play guitar or banjo.
Yeah.
But vocals, I mean, sure, you can go to vocal training, but I think vocals are a God-given talent that you either have or you don't.
Well, it's definitely something, you know, there's some kind of physiology going on, you know, like there's something physical happening in the space, and, you know, but it's got to be a brain thing too, you know, like how you perceive and what you hear, you know. But I think it's a combination of like exposure and, you know, maybe the way that someone is wired, and then also like physically, I guess, what's going on. But you know, it's a mystery though. I mean, I believe anybody can sing.
I'm going to argue with you only because I'm probably musically wired very similarly to you. I didn't have the same like constant seeing it growing up. My family did it.
Yeah.
But I love music as much as you do. You do not want to hear me sing.
Well, here's the thing. Not everybody can sing well.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But everybody can sing.
Of course they can. I can sing part of a choir.
Yeah.
You wouldn't notice how bad I am in a choir.
Right, and it's about what the energy that's being created with that human singing sound and being projected and brought up and put out. And so I really, anybody can sing, but maybe not everybody can sing well.
Correct.
But that everybody can do that.
Okay. Do you consider yourself primarily a vocalist or a songwriter?
That's tough. Probably at this point today, I consider myself primarily a vocalist.
Because you haven't been writing much?
Yeah, but even though I'm like trying to work on a new record, and it's just, you know, primarily a vocalist because I spend much more time working on that, I think, than I do writing. Yeah.
Speaking of singing and writing, is there something you'd like to sing and or perform? I guess it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it could be something new, it could be something old.
Let me
I don't know where you're at in the comfort of your new stuff yet.
Oh, here. Okay, so I'll play something that maybe you haven't heard. Okay, but it's kind of old, but I don't ever really play it out.
Is there a story?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so when my family and I moved to Nashville in 2012, we went down there because... Is it cool to talk about what Dominic does?
Of course it's cool.
Okay.
This is an open forum.
Okay. when we moved to Nashville because Dominic, my husband, Dominic John Davis, was starting to play. He's a bass player, and he was playing in Jack White's band. It was when Jack White of the White Stripes was going solo and was doing his first solo project. And my husband and Jack grew up together in Detroit. They've been friends since 5th grade, and we're in like Boy Scouts and they were Eagle Scouts together, and we're in each other's first band. And like Jack's family, like Dominic is the youngest of 4 in his family, and then he has a half sister that's younger than he is. But Dominic said growing up, like his mom got him a guitar for Christmas, electric guitar and stuff like that when he was 12. But there wasn't like any music in his house. And Jack is the youngest of 10, and all of Jack's brothers play music, right? And so Dominic would hang out there, and that's where he got music. And it was Jack's brothers that like put a bass in his hand one day and was like, here, play this, this, and this. And while we do this, and you hold that down. And so it was Jack's brother that really
Wow.
helped him be a bass player.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a cool story. So, of course, Jack would want Dominic to be a part of this project. And so that's why, Dominic was hired to be part of this project. And we thought it was going to be like maybe just one summer and thing. And then when he went down there for rehearsals, we realized it was going to be a long-term thing. So that's when we were like, well, if you don't want to commute between Bath, Michigan and Nashville, why don't we just move down there? And so we moved down there for that reason. And when we moved there for the first 6 months, we lived in Jack's guest house, and until we were like getting the lay of the land, until we found a spot for ourselves, which we did, and we're still there right now. But so I was there at the guest house with Virgil, our son, when Virgil was like 5 at the time, and I was there on this like compound by myself a lot, and it's this huge, there's a big house and there's an awesome studio, and when Virgil was at school, I would just like go, and sit in the studio and write, I try to write songs, and this was one of the songs that came out of that era of like, it was like transition, but it was like also like, a cultural shift from north to south. There was definitely a different culture in the South, but also from my, home musical community to this new musical community. And also like understanding, being associated with something that was high profile too, and which was really freaking scary to me. Like it was terrifying. I was freaking terrified. Like the first year that we lived there, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm a really inclusive, like person. I'm like, want everybody, like, come on everybody. And this was something different. Like I couldn't do what it did instinctively. Like I couldn't be who I was instinctively. And so it was really scary. So this song came out of that time. It's a very intricate explanation for the song.
Very good explanation. Well, what's it called?
It's called Free Man's Blues.
All right. Rachael Davis on Acoustic Alternatives.
Okay, here we go. Hope I remember it. Let's see. I'm already screwing it up. There you go. Here it is. I'll lend my face to your desire, like a shotgun blast through a blackbird choir, like an unmade bed for company. I am left out in my liberty. My time is just a liar's word, a cask where my regrets interred, like a captive shouting jubilee. I am left out in my liberty. I celebrate the dead end lane. I suffer what they overcame, like a heartache tempers reverie. I am left out in my liberty. There is so much I have at stake. For all I do, for pity's sake, for the passion and the purity, I am left out in my liberty. So keep me now, or keep me not, like the lesson that you soon forgot, like a warning and a mystery. I am left out in my liberty. I am left out in my liberty.
That's beautiful. I do not know that one. You're right. And I've seen you live a bunch of times, and I don't think I've heard that one.
I don't play that one out a lot. I'm kind of bringing that one back because I think I might include it in my new project.
You should. Can I vote yes?
Okay. I'm not sure if it's done, but there's lots there.
Well, if my opinion means anything, it's done. But
Okay.
Whatever. Who am I? I'm just a guy. Rachael Davis is my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives, and as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, I guess, whatever this is, podcast, it wouldn't be possible without a sponsor, because the video that you're watching that Max is taking care of and doing an expert job of, well, that's not free. I mean, this stuff does cost money, and I want to thank David for allowing me to continue to do this. David, as I mentioned, is an associate broker serving the clients in the city of Detroit throughout the region. If you are a first-time buyer, or you had a bad first-time buyer experience, and you're a music fan and you want to talk music with somebody who's like you, David is your guy for sure. He's quite adept at real estate sales and downsizing if you're getting ready to sell. If you're near my age, you have an aging parent, and you're not sure what you're going to do with all that stuff, talk to David about that. He's got a lifetime of stuff moving. He knows how to do this stuff. Trust me, he's your guy with this. He's your solution. He'll walk you through the steps, and with your permission, he'll help you manage the third parties whose services you will need. I've known him for years. He's a really great human being. He's always been supportive of what I'm doing, and I'm really appreciating what he's doing here today. He's got a vast knowledge of the Detroit region and cares deeply about the positive social impact that he can have on the area as well. So music, social impact, real estate, it's all about David Palmer. DCPalmer.com. I didn't get it right at the top. I'm getting it right this time. DCPalmer.com. Check it out. Write it down. When we're done with this podcast, go to that website and check it out. Okay, so Rachael, back to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me interrupt what we're doing here with that. So we're playing guitar today. I see a banjo off to the left. What instruments do you play? Like, there's a whole bunch that are in your repertoire, correct?
Yeah, a few, just a handful.
What do you got?
I started, my first instrument I learned how to play, was piano. I play piano.
Really?
And that's my favorite these days, honestly. Like,
Oh.
that's what we've got this cool upright piano in our dining room, and you have to walk past it every time you go to the kitchen. And so I pretty much sit down at it like a half a dozen times a day. So piano, guitar, banjo, ukulele, and then I've got a couple tenor guitars. I love playing the tenor guitar too. It's just like, it's just like a guitar, but ukulele. It's 4 strings. A tenor guitar just has 4 strings. And it's tuned like the top 4 strings of a guitar. So it's just like, I can play swing tunes on a tenor guitar much more easily than I can a 6-string guitar. But those are the 5, I think. Yeah. Piano, guitar, banjo, ukulele, tenor guitar.
And you've talked to me in the past about clawhammer banjo versus
Yes.
whatever the other kind. Like,
Yeah,
what is the
3-finger.
difference? What is it? 3-finger?
3-finger is like the bluegrass style. It's like the picking kind where you have like the picks on your thumb and you use the finger roll where it's like the, like the dueling banjos, like the bluegrass sound. And clawhammer is different. It's a different style. It comes from a different area, really. It's like Appalachian style. And you don't need the 3 picks for it. And it's a different strumming style and a whole different set of tunes.
With the kids that did you were you homeschooled or regular schooled?
I went to regular school.
Okay, so would the kids that you went to school with be at all surprised that you're still doing this today? Is there any?
No, I don't think any of them would be surprised
No
that
doubt
I
in
was
their
doing
mind.
this. Yeah,
This is your path the whole time.
yeah. A couple of years ago, I'm definitely dating myself now. A couple of years ago, I had my 20th high school reunion, and one of my friends from high school organized it and hired me to be the entertainment.
I DJ'd my own 20th.
Yeah, for the 20th school reunion, high school reunion, and I like brought my brother and my husband, and a friend that was a drummer, I like brought brought the band. Yeah, and so it's not a mystery.
Did you ever hold another job? I mean, was there like
I had
worked at Burger
one
King or
real
something?
job once.
What was it?
When I was 18, I was the beverage cart girl on a golf course in Cadillac, Michigan, and it was really fun because me and my 2 best friends worked out there, and you ran the snack shack, and you got to drive the beer cart all around the golf course all day long, and it was really fun.
I don't know that you're going to get a lot of stories that make songs out of that like you would working in a hotel or something like that.
Right. No, I mean, I'm sure there's something in there, but it was really fun. What does it feel like? Everybody was so happy to see it, when you would drive up. Everybody was so happy to see the beer cart.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Hey, here you are.
The beer girl. Did you ever consider going to Berklee School of Music, or did you go to Berklee?
I didn't go to Berklee School. So my senior year of high school, I went to Interlochen Arts Academy.
Oh, okay.
For just my senior year, but it was for theater.
Oh.
And it was before they had the musical theater program. It was actually the very first year they did a musical. And then there became a musical theater program couple of years after that. But so I went just for theater, studied a lot of Shakespeare and stuff. And it was really fun. But what it was like getting to be around other kids that were like me, that were driven and talent, had talent and ambition and wanted to do this, with their lives. And so that it was a short time, but I feel like that was like my music school experience. But then when I graduated, I took the money I had been saving for college and I made a record. And I definitely had that conversation with my parents, is this cool if I do this? And both of them there really wasn't a conversation. They were just like, of course.
Yes.
My dad, who spent an excessive amount of time in higher education, has many degrees and ended up being an awesome stay-at-home dad and a small town inspiration. But he never used his degrees, and so he was like, yeah, I wish I had thought of that, he was like, do that. And so that's what I did. And then I made a record. And then 2 years later, I moved to Boston and had a lot of friends in the Berklee music school scene.
Yeah.
And Boston Conservatory and all, I had a lot of music school friends and some friends from Interlochen too that were out there at that time. So I just went there to live and play music and get my career started. But that was kind of the equivalent of my college years, I guess.
You chose Boston because it was a rich folk music scene?
Yes.
Okay. Because you could have moved anywhere.
I could have moved anywhere. Yeah. I chose Boston just because it was kind of, the signs were pointing there. There was a couple of signs that were go here.
There were particular artists from that scene that made you think, if they do it, then I can do it.
Well, it was, in my whole career, I've received one fan letter. And it was when I was 20 years old, right before I was planning on moving somewhere to get kick-started my career. The fan letter was from this woman from the Boston area named Mary Lou Lord. And she's an indie rock queen. If you look her up, she's been present for many moments in rock and roll history, but was a peripheral character. But she really has been present for a lot of them. And I didn't know who she was. But the guy, my manager at the time, Pat Power, he knew who she was. Mm-hmm. And he was like, whoa. He was like, you should the fan letter said that she was cruising around and had heard one of my songs on WBUR in Boston, and I think that's what the station was at that time. And she had said, the letter said she had to pull over and listen and wait till and they didn't announce who it was, so she had to call the station and ask who it was. And then she got my information and sent me a letter, and she was playing at the Newport Folk Festival that year, and she invited me to come out and play with her at Newport.
Wow.
And so I did. I went out there and met a bunch of East Coast people, and I actually spent my 21st birthday playing on the street of Newport during the festival with Mary Lou Lord.
Wow.
And it was very memorable experience. Yes. And then a month later, I moved out there.
Wow, that's great. Well, you won Best New Singer-Songwriter, and you won it in a town like Boston. Why would you move back to Michigan? That's a great town, and the scene was very rich at the time.
Yeah, it was.
What brought you back?
It was, love. Dominic, my husband is the bass player in the Michigan Musical Institution, Steppin' In It, the band.
Love
and I had hired him to play I was doing a Midwest tour with one of my roommates from Boston who's a fiddle player, and we needed a bass player and also my guitar player, the late great Brett Hartenbaugh, and so we needed a bass player, and I hired Dominic, and Steppin' In It had come out to Boston, and we knew them, the Michigan connection. I known them from the Michigan scene, and they would stay, at my apartment. And, we had been friends for a while, but then, I hired him to play bass, and we did a tour together, and I guess everybody noticed something except me. I think I maybe was the last person to notice. And then, when I did finally figure it out, it was like, oh yeah, this is it. And he lived in Lansing, and I'd been out east for 6 years or something. And so, I was pretty excited to come to Lansing. I mean, I was born in Lansing, and I knew lots of people there, and so it was kind of a fun move to make. So that's what brought me back to Michigan initially.
Thank you, Dominic. I know eventually you'll probably watch this, but I thank you for bringing her back, because I'm not 100% sure our paths would have crossed if you hadn't moved to Michigan.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually. But
yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's true.
I'm grateful. Our paths have crossed. You want to brag a little bit about some of the other festivals you've had the chance to play? I mean, Newport was busking essentially, right?
Well, we did play on the stage.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a pretty big festival. What other festivals have you graced the stages of that people know about?
Let's see. I definitely did the Boston Folk Festival that time, and I did, when I was playing lots of festivals, I did Winnipeg and Ottawa Folk Festival, the Canadian festivals, Edmonton Folk Festival. Yeah. I did 2 years in a row, and that was really exciting. That wasn't really a thing, that inviting an artist back 2 years in a row, but I got to do that, and it was really fun. And then let's see, haven't done a lot of festivals out west, but lots of East Coast festivals. I'm trying to think now. There's so many. Oh my gosh.
That's okay.
They just but definitely the Michigan festivals, like Bliss Fest and Hiawatha, and my home festival, Wheatland Music Festival. I've been to every year of my life. We're playing, the Warblers are playing there. This gets to play there this year.
Yay.
Yeah. And
excited about that.
Finally take our new record somewhere.
A
year and a half after it was released.
No doubt that's a long wait to promote a record, but there's something going on that you couldn't really avoid. One of the things I've noticed over the years of watching you do shows is your stage presence is incredible, because your stories, very, very engaging. You make the audience smile and laugh. Was that something you picked up from watching somebody else? Is this just you just being you?
When I first started, when I first was performing, I would always perform with my family. Mm-hmm. And I never had to be the MC. My mom was always the one that engaged the audience, interacted.
Filled the space.
Yeah. And I remember when I started playing, I would go to this open mic in Cadillac at this little, bar and grill that was in a resort. And I would, when I was 12, and I would get up and just, the guy that hosted the open mic was Brett Hartenbaugh, who ended up being my longtime musical partner and guitar player. And that was the first time I would sing without my parents on stage. And at first I was just singing. And I remember when I was 15, I started getting gigs, like I would start playing with Brett in places all over Michigan, and it was mostly like bar gigs and that kind of stuff, like wallpaper gigs, and it was a good way to start. But I remember being terrified, like I have no idea what I'm gonna say. Like I'm very comfortable singing on stage, but like the interaction, I had no idea what to do or where to start, and it was scary. And for a long time, I was nervous, like I didn't know what to do or say, but I started at 15. So by the time I like had my record out and was, performing my own music when I was like 20, I had worked that out. But I didn't really, I guess, I would watch some people and be like, listen to their stories. And my mom is a great storyteller, and definitely watching her like influenced my stage banter and presence and stuff. But eventually it just like became, I realized that I could just talk to an audience the way I would talk to a person.
And that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm sitting on stage with a friend.
Yeah. And that's kind of my philosophy too, that like, performers, they say there's that fourth wall that separates the audience with the performer, and it creates mystique and whatever, cultivates some kind of power or something. But my power comes from breaking down that wall and being approachable and accessible and interacting with the audience the way I would. Like if you go to a show and you're watching me perform and then you come, and say hi to me, it's going to be exactly the same. It's a conversation.
Right, exactly.
And I just kind of realized that like performance is a conversation with the audience. So
I remember the first time I saw you, which was the station I was working for at the time sponsored a show at the Arc. I'm like, I'm going to go MC. And I saw you, blown away. And again, the stories, and just you connected with me. And one of my probable favorite memories of seeing you as well is a single performance at the Arc as part of the Ebert and Friends show.
Yes.
Your interpretation of Silent Night through the Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings interpretation is like spine-tingling, amazing. Like, why hasn't she recorded it that way? I guess it's already been done. But
it has.
But
that was a very exciting performance.
But you should lay it down in the studio too. Like just your vocal on it was so good.
That was just, it was like a one-time thing too. Like I learned it and I, practiced it and rehearsed it and performed it once.
Once 4 times.
Yeah, like for that show. Like I guess 4 nights in a row.
The band was amazing.
Yeah,
just everything about it was like, I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life.
It was me too. It was very exciting. That was a very fun performance.
Yeah, so good. Anyway, so another song?
Yeah, sure. Okay. How about Lazarus? I could do Lazarus.
I love
now.
Lazarus. Let's get into a story about that afterwards.
Okay, here it is. I went down from the mountain not too long to make my return, but then fury filled the skies and the river it did rise with no home to come out. I do sojourn. Let the water take me down, let all my troubles drown, let them slumber in the darkness of the deep. Make a fiddle from my bones if they ever make it home, and play little Mary, little Martha, don't you weep. In the valley I do travel, from the wild I heed the call. I'm a stranger in this land with no soul to lend a hand. Not for love or blood or mercy will I fall. Let the water take me down, let all my troubles drown, let them slumber in the darkness of the deep. Make a fiddle from my bones if they ever make it home, play my body in the ground, and my spirit will ascend that mountain once again. There is peace upon my homeland to be found. Let the water take me down, let all my troubles drown, let them slumber in the darkness of the deep. Make a fetter from my bones if they ever make it home. Play little Mary, little Martha, don't you weep. Hey.
Lazarus,
Lazarus, yeah.
excuse me, Lazarus. Performed. Rachael Davis is in studio on the Acoustic Alternatives program, and this is a song that has a great story we're going to get to in a second, because I wanted to kind of introduce getting into it by talking about things that you do that aren't just Rachael Davis stuff. So
Yeah.
occasionally you will collaborate with others.
Yes.
Sweetwater Warblers were
I
the
love
first
collaborating.
Yep, you recorded that finally with Sweetwater Warblers, so the harmonies of Lindsay Lou and May Earlywine are there as part of it. I know
Yes.
you got to collaborate with North Mississippi All-Stars not too
Yes.
terribly
Oh,
long
that's
ago.
right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We talked about that, I think, last time we got together in person.
Yeah.
And then when you're not working on solo stuff or stuff with Dominic, you're occasionally writing apparently for video games, which is the story of that one, like a song that was rejected because it was too good for the video game. Tell the
that's
story.
Okay, so the story is that our daughter Leela May, she was born in June of 2015, and normally, in the summertime is when we go out and play the most, because in the school year we get the school schedule and we do just little things here and there on breaks, but summer is when we like load it, and it's like the bulk of our income is summer festivals and concerts in the park and all the summer shows, because we can just go on the road. But since she was born in June, we weren't going anywhere. We had to hunker down, and so it was a morning in early May that Virgil was at school, and Dominic and I were sitting in the dining room, like kind of going over our finances and trying to figure out how we're going to budget, this summer without playing all these shows. And, we were like, well, crap. Dominic's like, well, I could sell a couple of my 17 basses.
No.
And we were like, that's where we were at. We were like thinking of what cool equipment do we have that we don't really need that we could sell, so we could get through the summer. And not an hour after that, we received a phone call from this fella in Vancouver, British Columbia, from the Comcast media company. And he was telling us that he saw us on YouTube or something, and he loves our music, and they're developing a sequel for this really popular zombie apocalypse video game called Dead Rising 4. And the scene is like a mountain scene, and so they're looking for like old time music. And would we be interested in writing some songs for it? And we would also, it would support us for the whole summer. Like this one
commission, right?
Yeah, like this one project would take care of all of our financial problems for the summer. And so it was just like, like universe lightning striking. And we were like, what more specific genre is there to write a song within besides old time zombie apocalypse music? I was like, heck yes, I will do this. Sure. And I was so excited to get started that I immediately got started, and I like sat down, and like that whole progression just kind of poured out. And I'd like written the first verse and the chorus right away, and then kind of like had to get distracted. I can't like do anything I can't do anything creative in my house for an extended amount of time just because I have littles. And so I had to like put it aside. And then I kind of had like a notepad scratching and stuff, like figure if I thought of something. But then a couple weeks later, Dominic was doing a tour with Jack that summer, and the tour was ending in Hawaii. And so all the families were going. And so we got to go meet them in Hawaii, and I finished writing the song at the Kahala Resort in Honolulu, and it's kind of like hilarious that it's this like dark like zombie apocalypse like Lazarus like dark song words, and that I wrote them in this like beautiful sunny like under palm trees.
Whatever it takes, Rachel. Whatever it takes.
I leave that part of the story a lot just because it's like, I don't know, it maybe sounds whatever silly, but that is where the rest of the song was written, was like on the patio at the Kahala Resort.
Have you been asked to write for video games again?
No, we haven't. But so what happened was like I wrote that song. I made a demo for it. We sent it to him. The guy said he freaking loved it. You know, he's like, I love this song. But then he's like, it's just not quite what we're looking for. He's like, it's a little too cerebral. Is what,
yes,
what he said.
The people wouldn't make the connection between Lazarus and rising from the dead.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's a little too literary, I guess. But then he steered us in the direction they wanted us, and what they wanted was like Loretta Lynn sounding George Jones, like, you know, like 60s country radio, you know, and that was a blast to do. And like Dominic, I realized, had been holding out on me for a while. He's a pretty good songwriter, and we wrote the songs together, and you know there were like 4 songs, and we recorded them, and like my brother Zach Bunce sang the lead on one of them, and they're on the soundtrack for Dead Rising 4. You can go look it up. It's like on iTunes.
Purchasable?
You can go and purchase our songs from
I need to do that. How have I not done that yet?
There's like 500 tracks or something, but you have to like sift through all of it to find the ones we did.
That's probably why I haven't done it yet. I'll have to do that, though.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Do you get to do other things like commercial work? Like, do you get to do voices for?
Yeah, we did a little bit of that. Actually, when we were in Lansing, we did that kind of stuff because we had friends that did commercial spots and got to do that. That's really fun to do. It's like it's like dressing up. It's like playing dress up for a vocalist. Is what it is.
So that, and then of course the projects, the Sweetwater Warblers, which is the trio we've mentioned. We didn't mention Shout Sister Shout, which we should, because that's an excellent project that I wish had a future. It could have a future.
It might.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, it's always a possibility.
Yes. I love that. I love that so much. I got a box set of the artist that was inspired and gave you a copy.
Yeah.
Because I want you to do more of this, please. Here's an example of more stuff to do.
Yeah. And I love it. That's my favorite stuff.
Of all the stuff that you've done, though, solo, trio, band, what brings you the most joy?
I probably Shout Sister Shout.
Really?
But it's hard to say because like with the Sweetwater Warblers, that harmony balance is
That's
like
heaven.
It is, and it's like therapy or something. I don't. It's like
for me too.
It just feels the balance is just like euphoric, and so like that it is in a different way. You know, like the Sweetwater Warblers, singing with them is just like, I mean, there's nothing that comes close to that.
Nope.
But then getting to my favorite kind of music to listen to and to sing is like, I feel like where my true voice resides is in the, you know, early 20th century, you know, blues and jazz and swing music.
That's cool.
That's what I really feel like my true voice exists inside that. And so Shout Sister Shout, for that reason, is like, I love it. I mean, it's so easy and it's so satisfying and wonderful and fun, and you know, and it's with freaking Steppin' in it. You know, like my favorite band. You know?
Argue with me on that. I won't. I don't think we should. I imagine the answer to the question is family, but what stops you from doing more recording of music? Is it
that? Yeah, family and time and space, really. You know, and also, you know, like, just time and space. Yeah.
You talked previously about maybe doing a lullabies album. The possibility of a covers album could be a time space filler when you didn't have enough songs.
There's definitely like lots of like side project ideas that I could probably do now, but I want to do like a solo record first before I do any more like side things.
More Rachel. That's what we want.
I haven't done like a regular like solo songwriter album since like 2008 or something. Yeah. But I've put out a lot of like other things or like side projects or like, you know, branches of what I do in between that time. But just like get back to that core, you know, whatever it was I was establishing initially.
I know because I read about it on Facebook that you went on a songwriting retreat.
Yes.
Was that in?
It was in May. Yeah.
Where'd you go? Louisiana?
I went to New Orleans.
New
Yeah.
Orleans, yeah.
Yep.
Did anything come of it?
Yes, actually. Nothing like new, actually like whole pieces, whole song. But, I just said the biggest issue is time and space. And what I ended up doing is like playing music for like 15 hours a day for like 5 days. I rented an Airbnb that had a 100-year-old baby grand Steinway piano in it. And I sat at that thing for like 8 hours every day. And it was just like, I realized after the past year and a half of like not really doing what I'm used to doing or, what I feel, defines me or outlines me rather, it's going to take some time to get, I've got to find that person again. They're in there somewhere, but it's really been like, there's been so many distractions and so many other things to pay attention to or to put energy toward that I hadn't really been nurturing that artist or whatever in me. And it's going to take time doing that first, I think.
I totally get it. I'm not an artist, but I lost who I was too.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, because so much of us, we identify ourselves with our connection with others. And we still were able to be connected, but like in a different way. And, it definitely felt like a shift or a transition, and it wasn't.
It was weird.
A little watered down, maybe.
It was. So you got the banjo.
Yeah.
Is there a song we can do? I know this is going to be a little bit louder than the guitar, so I'm going to make adjustments.
Might have to make.
I've got experience,
but I can keep this thing tucked in the back, so it's not
too loud. I'm in control of the mixer. I'm good.
I'll try to move this thing around here. Okay, there we go.
What song is the banjo song today?
How about I do the Sweetwater Sea?
Oh, I love that song.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Let's do that. Hang on, I need to hear this thing. There we go. If you wonder why I sing so sad, well, I have a story to tell. How I left my home for the war in Vietnam, and the girl that I love so well. Well, I thought that I'd found my love, but it just was not to be. For the cruel fates took an awful turn, and the blame fell all on me. Now I never will see her again, Lord, Lord. No, I never will see her again. At the urge of her father's threat, I enlisted in the war, and I left the banks of the Sweetwater Sea to go and live on a salty shore. All the letters from my heart, they were posted all in vain, for her father found them before they reached her sight, and he stole them all away. Now I never will see her again, Lord, Lord. No, I never will see her again. More than 30 years have gone, and I often sit and dream of the pretty little girl that I left behind. Does she still remember me? Now I never will see her again, Lord, Lord. No, I never will see her again. No, I never will see her again, Lord, Lord. No, never see her
Incredible song, Rachael Davis, Sweetwater Sea on Acoustic Alternatives. I believe that one's been covered, hasn't it?
It has. It has been covered by our hometown heroes, the Green Sky Bluegrass. Put that on their live album.
Yeah.
Live Volume 1. I think it might be like the opening track or something.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sort of essentially Sweetwater Warblers, Sweetwater Sea. I think it inspired the name.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. I never even freaking thought of that.
Come on.
Maybe. I swear.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Because
thought you were kidding because you're kind of.
No, I'm thinking about it right now. I'm thinking about how the Sweetwater Warbler name came about. It was just because we had that one set at Hoxeyville that we were requested to do together, and we just had to come up with something for that, for that day.
Okay.
And Warbler, I have Sweetwater, and it was like we want to do something like about the Great Lakes, and I'm not even sure if I suggested that. I think maybe Lindsay Lou might have suggested that, but
Well.
yeah.
Huh.
I
thought
know,
you were
maybe.
being sarcastic.
I'm sure it's related. I mean, it's definitely in our consciousness.
Sure.
So.
So the move to Nashville for me was like, oh no, we lost one of our best. But I was hoping that it would result in a greater exposure for you. Has it done anything for you as far as your career is concerned?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's taken a long time. It's a slow roll. But definitely, I mean, like the North Mississippi All-Stars thing, like I got to do stuff with Phil Madeira and Colin Linden, exposure. It's all, a lot of it, it's all secondhand exposure from like Dominic, really.
Sure.
But still, like I'll take it,
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
Do you think your career would have been any different had you just stayed in Michigan and done the same, like you still would have done the Warblers? Has it really... Has the audience size increased because
well, it's hard to say. I don't think it has, just because I've been in mom land for so long.
That's a good point.
But now I just hired a new agent last year, and he kicks ass. And I'm talking about making a new album, and I'm really kind of committed to hitting the pavement soon. I'm done having babies, and Leela May is going to be in first grade, and the time is coming, and I have this vision in my mind, and also this like drive to get it rolling. And I think being in Nashville puts it in a good spot.
And you can get back on the road and be the base to go in any direction. Like Nashville's here, you can go boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom,
and I
boom.
can still be like have my Midwestern heart, and bring the spirit of what music community is up here down to Nashville, and then carry that with me. Like that's really like my essence, is like the spirit of the Michigan music community. That's just like so close knit, and we're all part of each other. And I identify so much with this area. I mean, all my stories are about my family, and
True,
where I'm from,
yeah.
and so like I think it has the makings of a pretty good combination there.
You and I share a love of music, but we also share a love of baseball. Where did that come from?
It came from a really early age. So the whole Chicago part of the story. Yeah, my mom's family is like my mom's dad was a huge White Sox fan. And when he was a kid, he was an Andy Frain usher in Chicago, which was just like they were ushers at sporting events. So he got to be at like old Wrigley Field. My grandpa, when he was 15, was the back gate security for the 1947 All-Star game at Wrigley Field. Wow. And he's got stories about Joe Cronin, who was the Red Sox manager at the time. But so I heard baseball stories from my grandfather. And then also when we moved to Michigan, we still got WGN up here, and we could still watch the Cubs and the White Sox. And I went to a lot of ball games with my dad and my grandpa and stuff when we lived in Chicago when I was little. And I have vivid memories of like seeing Wrigley Field the first time. And baseball was like the connection between, like when we moved, it was like my connection to Chicago, where I was, to this new place. And it was also like, I don't know, it was just something also aesthetic about it too, that I was very drawn to it. I was drawn to the culture, and like I remember knowing when it was opening day, And I went to elementary school on the top of this big hill right next to our house. And I would get home by running down the hill. And I remember, like, on opening day, the game would start at, like, 2 o'clock and Central Time. And then I would sprint down the hill to go and watch the White Sox or the Cubs, whoever was on WGN. And it was, like, meant that summer was starting. And it was, like, this placeholder for this time of, like, freedom and innocence. So it's like the culture, and then later on finding out about like the other parts of culture that are connected to it, like music and like the cool songs from the golden age of baseball. And also I'm just like kind of a nerd, and the historical part of it too I was really drawn to. Like whenever I'm bummed out, I'll like watch an episode of like the Ken Burns baseball documentary.
There you go.
And I don't know, there's something about it. I'm really drawn to it. I like tradition. I'm really tradition oriented, and how baseball connects generations to each other is what I'm drawn to.
And the Red Sox are your team?
Yes. Yeah. And so the reason for that is
Chicago,
because
Detroit, and then
I
Boston.
had kind of like, as a like late teenager, I'd kind of fallen out of like my love of baseball. Yeah. And then when you move to Boston, it's like part of the culture. Yeah. Like you cannot not fall in love with baseball. If you have any, tendency to like baseball, and if you're in Boston, like you cannot not fall in love with it. And so I was also there when they broke the curse, like literally like in Harvard Square, and when they won the World Series. And so they're just a really old team. They're one of the original teams. Yeah, and so the tradition part, and they're also really good. And
this year they are.
This year, yeah, they are. They've had some rough years recently.
Last year.
Yep, and maybe the year before that too.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite player?
My all-time favorite player actually was on the White Sox, and my favorite player is Harold Baines.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing your stories, your songs, your laughter, your smile.
Thanks for having me, Bommarito.
My pleasure. And to remind you, it couldn't have happened without David Palmer. David Palmer
Thanks, David Palmer.
David Palmer is a great guy. David Palmer's website, dcpalmer.com. I should have mentioned that he's affiliated with Realty Experts, LLC, 1420 Washington, number 301, Detroit, Michigan, 48226. The phone number is 313-759-9558. Again, David Palmer, dcpalmer.com. He makes this podcast possible, and I'm very grateful for that as well. But the friendship that I share with you, and the fact that I got to see you on your visit to Michigan from Nashville, is going to be the highlight of my summer.
I'm glad this happened.
Me too. Let's do it again.
Okay.
All right. Another episode to be determined. I will have another guest. Don't know who it is yet, but working on somebody. Thanks for joining us on Acoustic Alternatives.